Hi, this is Darshini in Spirit, and this is the 2021 intro to all the videos that are coming in, and that is going to be separated as usual with America, Canada, Asia, and South Pacific, obviously Australia, New Zealand, etc., and the other countries. I am not going to be able to cover every country, so I apologize. But it is a huge, massive job to do this. The other thing is I have put out a separate video on COVID, but that's just for America, which I will be updating as of about 36 hours ago. Actually, numbers changed. And people who don't realize and never had a reading with me or have interacted with me or taken classes don't realize that I actually draw information from the energy. I actually go into energy and dimensions, which I will address that in another, not exactly a future event, put it that way, probably in a book or a video. But basically, I read through pure energy, and that's why my readings and classes, etc., my predictions are a bit different. So it's up to you what you do, you'd like to take away from this. But the only reason, and some people think it's for ego, and I assure you, I do not like being in front of the camera, and that is that I only do this because people are in absolute fear. We've lost over 1 million, 4 million, nearly 1.5 million, which will be reaching that, unfortunately, soon enough in the world. And how many millions have actually been affected in the way of, I'm talking about COVID obviously, but from extended family, but they've got, and they're going to suffer from more, how can I say this, more issues, or issues as I say in England, but issues of health problems. And these are reoccurring. They 99% will not go away. They will remain with you. They're the children, and there is a warning, by the way. If you get time, please see the COVID, and I'm going to repeat it for the other countries. And that is in February, where I see the coronavirus, COVID-19 rather, actually mutating again. It has mutated several times, but this mutation has started to a certain degree, but the mutation is actually infecting, or affecting rather, children. And it's from, and I call children from 28 down. So unfortunately, that is going to be quite catastrophic, and it's really aggressive with children who have even minor issues, or not minor, but issues with bronchitis, their immune system's low, things like that. So I am warning everybody, by February, this will actually be rearing its head. It's already actually mutating, has mutated, and it is going to start really getting aggressive round about near mid-December. But you'll see the real effects of it by February, I'm afraid, where the numbers are being shown. And this is all over the world, okay? So take care of your children. Even though they don't like it, you're going to have to be the strong guide. And even though I don't have children per se, I do advocate that I believe in tough love. That's how I was raised, and a lot of my generation was raised, but the tough love is literally to protect them, okay? I will do a separate video, not too sure when, because this one is going to, next few days are going to be massive with filming the predictions, but basically I'm going to try and do a video regarding foods. Now again, I am not an expert, I am not a professional, I haven't got certification, but I just want to make that disclosure. It is what you take away, and it's your instincts to either believe it or not or whatever. Do your checking yourself, your fact checking. I'm here to hold your hand and be there for you, but not to tell you what's right and wrong, okay? We all lead our own lives. But basically, regarding the COVID, I am going to be putting out a video and giving you suggestions of, like, for instance, tomatoes. Tomatoes are great for helping your immune system. So there's certain foods that you could eat, and there's even a recipe I created a long time ago. It takes 20 minutes, and it's with lentils, which is a high form of protein, but it's red lentils. And I might even do a little cooking show on that one. But it's for those people who don't want to eat or can't eat or just don't have time, but they do need that nourishment, okay? And I'll cover that one in another video. So basically, this is just to say hi, okay? And let you know that I'm doing these videos again. Not too sure I'll do it next year, we'll see. But the COVID, basically, with some other situations, I'm afraid we're going to get a lot of fires in America and around the world. There are certain places where we will, typhoons and hurricanes, which I've covered, and I am going to do an additional one to the American hurricanes because I did forget to do the West Coast. So we're going to be hit with a few F5s, and actually 3 F5s, it could be 4, but there is one that's an sorry, not F, I apologize, I keep on doing that. It's category 5, but it's actually a category 4 that really tips into near a 5. But that is what I'm concerned about. It's going to be very active in the Gulf, and that's in America, and South America obviously affects it. So I will put that additional video to support the one that I've done prior to this. Around the world, we're going to see far more drastic weather changes. So please be warned, please be prepared, which is what the only reason why I'm doing these is for you to not be in fear, but literally take some information, and if I'm wrong, which I honestly, sincerely hope I am wrong with every one of these predictions, because, you know, I realize they're quite devastating, some of them, but I hope I'm wrong, and I don't really care about right or wrong, if I'm right or wrong. It's more that I do worry that people get into the fear, so I believe that information actually not deflects fear, but handles fear a bit better. And there are a few classes, like Face Your Fears, I've taught, and it's really about realizing what dangers there are out there, but be prepared, and then your mind won't be going into sheer panic when something happens. At least you're being proactive. Not everybody will be affected by that kind of disaster, but we are going to see a considerable gain, different year with it. So I wish you luck. I wish your family huge amount of blessings and love. Remember, there are, maybe people don't like me for this, but I really do believe that there is a positive with this, not infection, but with what's going on, all the devastation, and that is to see who your real friends are, your family, and to love them, and to find out what the real values of life are, and not this surface things that we've been chasing. Not everybody, I realize that, and I certainly, don't do that, but we're all guilty in one way or the other on certain things. But we are realizing how life is so precious, and especially to those people who have lost loved ones. And please, no, this is not a conspiracy theory. COVID is real, and my hearts go out to all the healthcare workers, every single one of them. They are sacrificing their lives and their families, by the way, because of what they do. And those are the true heroes here, the firefighters, all of the workers, health workers, and everybody associated with not only the pandemic, but also other disasters in this world. So please go up, and that's what my husband and I do, is we do go up to them and say thank you. Police, and certain people who we know, we definitely appreciate, who are protecting and are there for us. So it's only a small little thing, but to them it's huge. Okay, and it'll make you feel good and realize to a different level how much you realize how much they are appreciated in your life, but not only that, they are appreciated too. Anyway, blessings, love, and take care. And I will be uploading at different times throughout the year. If I find there's a category, sorry, here we go. Category 5 or whatever the hurricane's doing, because it seems it's been pretty accurate on when I see it. I haven't put them out. It's been a crazy year, but I will try and do that for you guys, okay? Anyway, take care, blessings, and keep safe. Love to you all. Bye-bye. Now, I will say for COVID, for Europe, it's going to experience United Kingdom, not so much Ireland, but England, and Scotland not so much, by the way. It's really this part, and it's really down south here, that the numbers are going to just increase and keep on increasing until after January 15th towards February, and then it starts declining. But not, I wouldn't say drastically, but declining enough that it's significant. And that is because I feel that they've got a viable vaccine, but it's got side effects. But it's far more that the health system can't support all of the emergencies. Norway, Sweden, Finland seem to have it more or less under control that I see, but every country is going to see experience a higher volume until about January 18th, so it's not anything new. Africa, definitely. And this is kind of under the world anyway, so COVID, so I'll just quickly go over Mexico, same thing. I mean, I'm afraid it's just devastating. It's just so sad and hard to read, hard to go in and read and see the deaths now reaching 1.5 million, which is one death was too much, but 1.5 million is just, you can't wrap your mind around that, sadly. So that, I'm going to leave it there, I'm afraid. Keep safe, please, and blessings and love and light. Okay, and we are in Europe. I'm going to kind of cover Middle East as well in here. But basically, we're going to, snow. Snow, I hate to say it, round about February, there's going to be a devastating downfall. And it's about the 25th of February, and most of England is covered. Ireland, Sweden, I mean, the system is massive. It's really covering quite a bit, not so much at the edge of Ukraine on the east, but quite frankly, it's mostly this circle here that gets covered and the higher elevations here, but quite frankly, it's to do with a horrible snowstorm coming in. Iceland gets far more snow then, but basically this is like a good anything from 4 feet, 3.5 to 8 feet of snow in certain areas where it's just dumping and dumping. So I am worried about that. As I always say, for the countries who receive a lot of snow, please look out after elderly neighbors, people who can't get out, stock up in food now, canned food at least. Make sure that they have electricity or a backup, or at least warm blankets to make sure that they're okay, water. There's going to be a lot of subsequent problems there because even the pipes are freezing. The temperatures are going to go extremely low and hit records, I'm afraid, break records in several of these countries where it's extreme cold, and it starts really around about the 5th of January and continues until really April 22nd is where all your months of snow and your extreme weather. I only talk about one system. There's about 7 systems coming in, but 3 of them are the ones that are really going to affect you, where you're getting tons of snow, and or it's freezing and it's sleet and snow, or it's hailstorms, which is more here, hailstorms that you're getting here in England too, but it's really on the edge here. So please be careful, beware, be careful driving, your extremities, your fingers, and even to the point where in this area here they're getting a lot of frostbite and stuff like that. So it's hitting more extreme cold in Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland, obviously, but really this area here in Russia, this whole section gets into extreme colds, which they haven't seen for about 40 years. So be careful of that. The systems are going to be obviously on a high level mountains. So Kazakhstan, all of these Middle Eastern countries on the higher elevations are going to get hit badly regarding not only snow, but I'm talking about extreme cold. And that's what I'm really worried about. So please be careful. Now, that is snow. And I'll go to the next one for flooding. Flooding, Europe. Yes, obviously snow has to melt, but I'm talking about other things too. So you're going to get deluged with rain. Let's talk about England and Ireland. But there's a rain system that comes in from here that literally is like a deluge, and you're seeing a lot of right through England, I'm afraid, right through Scotland too, London, Great Britain, Ireland, all through. And it's been deluged, and I'm seeing about a good 2.5 to 3 feet of rain, and it is just soaking. It's cold, thanks to the English Channel, but it was always cold for me when I lived there. But basically, it's at least 2.5 to 3 feet of rain, and that's coming in more in March. Intermittently, there are when they the snow melts, you're going to get brief floods. But the flash flooding I'm worried about is the system that's coming in March. May, there's another one, end of June, July 21st to the 27th, really. There's all kinds of weather systems, but it's hitting mostly this part of England. So southeast, London, Thames. And Thames, actually, I see is reaching its... it can even go over. So I'm sorry to say that the Thames will flood over, break its banks there. So be careful of that. You're going to see more sleet. And not only snow, but sleet. So be careful of that, freezing rain. And you're going to get far more colder weather. It is shifting into extremes. So that's just in England and Ireland, right through to Scotland, obviously. Scotland, Great Britain, and Ireland. So on here, I'm seeing that the same thing happens, but the systems... The rain is going to be, let's see. I'm seeing floods in Sweden, Norway, and Finland, Lithuania, Poland. Denmark actually is getting quite a bit. It's as if there's a system coming in and it moves this way. And it literally touches Scotland, but quite frankly is not as devastating as in Sweden. And here's the center. But it reaches out like that, and it goes through there. There's another system that comes in, and there's Spain, round about May, there's a flooding in Maine, Madrid, and most of the cities down here, not so much in Barcelona. In France, there's a lot of crop ruination, I'm sorry to say, for the grapes, for the wine, and that's all over. Not so much in Paris, but in the provincial areas. Germany, I'm talking about downtown Belgium. It's in this area here, that even in Italy, they're seeing that. Then there's Venice and Rome. Yes, it'll start flooding again, another 1.5 to 2 feet, I'm afraid. There they'll see that the sea is rising, so they're going to see snow there. Greece, flooding. I'm talking about flooding. Turkey, and in there, there's a lot of mountains and ranges I'm seeing in here that are going to actually produce when the snow melts. There's going to be some devastation on flooding into local villages. I'm sorry to say. All right. All right. Next video. This one is to do with earthquakes. And I am seeing about a 4.5 and about a 3.2. Not central London, just outside Greater London, really. And there's kind of a vein of earthquakes that's running kind of like this in Greater London, though, down to Southampton, right, like that. So there are minor earthquakes, which is getting the seismologists a bit concerned because England's not known for earthquakes, but they have had them. I've seen them and predicted them, so I know that there is. The ones that I'm worried about more on earthquakes is, I had said Italy, unfortunately it did, and Greece, roundabout Greece, and it did come true. They're going to have some, and I think it's to do with the volcano activity, the activation of the volcano there, volcanoes there, and they're going to be a 7.1 roundabout here, hitting Athens, and then there's one here, which is more like a 7. It's kind of a 7.1. Maybe it's affected the same thing. Then there's a lot of 6.8s, and the rest are all 6s and lows 5s and 4s. So really, this whole area is becoming quite active in next year, not this year, but rest of this year, but this year. And Istanbul, Turkey, round about there is going to be like a 7.9. It looks like a 7.9, but it probably will feel like it, but it's really a 7.2, okay, which is devastating enough. But it's a high level one, in other words, 10 miles down, so it will be affecting people. All right, that's it for now. There are other earthquakes, but I'm going to have to make these short, sweet, and dirty kind of thing. Okay, so political, next video. Okay, this is going to be on terrorist acts, and I'm afraid I guess I was right. Nobody's really got back to me in England or Europe, so we'll see how long. I'm not too sure if I'll be doing this next year. But basically, I am seeing 3 major attacks. There are going to be about 12, but 3 major ones in London, and basically 4 others around other areas in England. But they're mostly in London, the more aggressive ones, and that's bombings, I'm afraid, okay? Edinburgh, I think there's going to be about 2. One, something to do with politics, is one, and that's more or less a shooting. There are some stabbings in London, and they're isolated, but they are going to happen, okay? Then in Belgium, there's terrorist activity, about 4 of them. One is trying to get out but gets caught, and they're about total of 7, but they catch 4 of them immediately. France, I'm afraid, yes, you're going to have terrorist activities. There's a total of 7 that I see, and a potential of 13. But they're basically more or less in Paris and in certain areas of on the coast here. But it's really Paris that gets affected on those. And 2 stabbings are really designated as terrorist activity. So Belgium's, Brussels, Netherlands, there are 2. Germany, there's about 5 of them. One's to do with trying to get the government leaders, but that's thwarted, which is great. But unfortunately, it's like a bombing I'm seeing, so that it is caught in time, but unfortunately not in time to stop killings, which I think are murder, not killings, because of what they're doing. There's a lot, Slovakia, there's a lot of protests and demonstrations, and this spurns a lot of activity for kind of fodder for terrorists to feed on. So there's, in Austria, there's uprisings and riots against the government. In Prague, in Slovakia, in Budapest, in Hungary, then Croatia, Slovenia, Romania, Serbia, Bulgaria. I mean, all of these are covered with a lot of protest, even in England. As for these countries in Denmark, there are small ones in Sweden, but there is a protest. It's like a mass, it wasn't a mass shooting. It's about 12 people, but I'm seeing children. God, I hope I'm wrong. I really am, in Sweden. And that one, it's to do with the students. So, but I think it's college. So I'm sorry to say. And there's about 3 terrorist activities in Norway. In Finland, there's 5. There's earthquake activity there, by the way, just quickly. I know I covered it already in another video. But that's the sad thing about all of this. In Italy, there's a lot of protests, and it's against, which is surprising. But this is a new radical group that was developed came into being in March this year. I don't know who they are. I'm just seeing that it came into being in March this year. But they're against the government, and in Rome they're very active. So there are a few bombings, I'm afraid, but not anything hugely significant. Luckily, that they're not destroying things, but they're still significant. There are going to be a lot of for that kind of type of activity, terrorist activity. In Greece, there's huge protests I'm seeing against the government. There seems to be a huge problem with the economy and the money and everything else. So that's heating up around about end of May, June through August, and that is getting ugly, really ugly. So there's a lot of confrontations there. All right. These countries, I do see a build-up in these areas, in Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, of far more militant and terrorist activity. Syria, definitely, obviously. But all of these, that even the Taliban and other hate groups are in there. So I'm afraid they're building up and coming into India too, and trying to infect in Pakistan, causing trouble there. Okay, so that's that.